Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll masach this Bava Kama daf Pei Hey. We're going to begin on Pei Hey Amud Aleph, the top of the Amud by the two dots. Omdin Kama Adam Kiyotze B'Zeh Roitze Litol B'Chulu. So we've been learning at the beginning of this parak Hachayvel B'Chavero. There's 5 things. One of them is Sar, and the way that we evaluate Sar is we evaluate how much a person is willing to accept or to take, literally, to be in so much pain. So how much is a person willing to basically pay to be in to be in pain, or maybe to avoid pain? The Gemara is going to discuss this. So sar b'makam nezek heichi shaminan. So the question is, how, since we've already calculated the amount for damages, so how do we figure out the tsar? So Amar Avu D'Shmuel Oimdin Kama Adam Roitze Litol Likatoa Loyado. How much is a person willing to take in order to have to be willing to have his hand cut off? So what does that mean? So if you cut off his hand, we cut off his hand. That's not just sar. That's all 5 things. So how could we say that's just based on the pain? V'od, and here we have a great line. What? B'shivtani askinan. Are we talking about someone who is foolish? It doesn't make any sense. No person in their right mind is going to be willing to allow that to happen to them, hopefully for no amount. There should be no amount of money that a person should be able to do so. So if we look in Rashi, so how do we figure this out, basically? So Yadu Hakatua, Umuchuberes Begidin, Samusin Ve'en Royal Mulacha. So it's barely holding on to anything but a few sinews, but the hand is not functioning. So El Katoa Yado Hakatua. So we're talking about a Yado Hakatua, a hand which is already not functioning because it's connected to some gidin, some sinews, but it's not functioning, to have it completely removed. So Yado Hakatua Nami Lotsar Chude Ika, Hatsar Boishas Ika. There's still all this other payments. Again, his hand wasn't functioning before anyway. From a perfectly functioning hand to cutting off a person's hand, no one would ever even think about. What if his hand was already not functional? It was just dangling with absolutely no benefit. It wasn't able to do anything. And then to have it removed is not so significant. But you say, but still that's not acceptable of an answer, because it's not just sar in that situation. Hartzar boishasika. There's also an element of boshas, of embarrassment. Why? Diksifo le milsa, lemishko mibsaro, lemishno klavim. The fact that it's now removed from his body, and now it's just lying around, and literally dogs can get to it. In other words, it's something which is just going to be lying around because it's not part of his body. That's an embarrassment. That's something which a person still wouldn't want. So this guy was going to be getting a very harsh penalty from a king, that his hand was going to be cut off. And he had an option. You could either have it removed with some type of acid, which obviously, your hand is going to be removed regardless. But it's going to be a little bit painless. You're going to have some type of anesthetic, surgically removed, versus cut off violently by a sword. A person's not going to do that. A person's not going to be willing, even though his hand's going to be removed either way, a person's not going to be willing to undergo more pain in order to be able to for money. That actually he would give money in order to be in less pain. He was going to be having his hand removed by the sword, which is very painful, and he would be willing to pay money instead for his hand to be removed by some type of acid or medicine. So that difference is the tsar that you would have to pay. So for the Gemara, that all sounds good, but there's a problem with the lashon. It shouldn't say take; it should say give. How much he's willing to give? He's not taking. So how do we understand that? So this one's, he's taking that which the other one is giving. So that's not necessarily much of a question, but that's basically how we're answering. So tsar is looking at a person who is already going to be sentenced to this punishment of having his hand removed, but a much more painful way, to pay how much to have it in a less painful way. Ripoi hiko chayv or faisai. So he said you have to pay for his doctor bills. Tanaban. Oh boy samachin. Let's say you have blisters that come up on this individual. So machmas hamake. Let's say it's because of the original hit. So vinistera hamake chayv or. So the din is that you have to pay for those damages. And also you have to pay for the amount of time that he is at rest, namely the time that he's not able to work because of this injury. However, if let's say the blisters came about, the smochim, not due to the injury, so you don't have to pay for his doctor bills. You don't have to pay for his time not at work. And that seems pretty obvious because it was shlom machmas hamake, so it had nothing to do with you. So why would you even have a havamin? Of course, double pasha, you should be potter from having to pay these things. And then we have an interesting answer, another opinion. Yes, if it was the blisters came about because of the injury, then yes, of course you have to pay for the doctor bill. But the chiddush here is you never have to pay the dmei shiftai, the amount of time that he's resting, even though the blisters, which were machmas makeh, caused him not to be able to work. You do not have to pay for the value of the dmei shiftai. We'll have to understand why. The chachamim oimrim shifta refuasai. So the chachamim say to make a connection between resting and the doctor bills. Therefore, anytime you have to pay for the resting, so you have to pay for the doctor bills. However, if you don't have to pay for the resting, then you don't have to pay for the doctor bills either, which is mashma. Again, therefore, if for whatever reason you don't have to pay for the sheves, you don't have to pay for the doctor bills at all. So we have a three-way machlokas. Let's understand this better. But my kamefagi. So Amar Rabba ashkachtin hu rabbanan bebei Rav. So I found the rabbis and the base medrash of Rav. The Yasvi Karmi Hachaba Maka Nitna Eged Kamefagi. Here we're talking about a Maka that is the wound is bandaged. In other words, this wrapping is what may be causing the blisters. Kamefagi. That is the question. Says Rashi, Nitna Rishus Nechba Oigda. You're given permission to wrap it up. Now that you've wrapped it up, Rashi says, the reason why this blister came about was not just because of the hit, but also because of the compression that was put on this wound, this bandage. Because of that pressure, that also is the cause of the wound. Now we can maybe understand why it's a little bit more problematic, because maybe if you didn't put this bandage on, then perhaps you would never have gotten these blisters. Therefore, maybe I shouldn't have to pay anything for that reason. So again, we have this machlokas based on that specific situation. First medium-sized line. Rabbanan Savri, Maka Nitna Le'eged. The Rabbanan say it is Nitna Le'eged, which basically means that you are given permission to put it there. And therefore, since the person who's being healed has permission to put it there, therefore, the reality is, if it was all machmas makeh, you go back to the original hit, it was connected to that, so therefore you will have to pay the doctor bills and also for Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Savar makalun in le'eged. He says no. You actually don't have permission to put this bandage on, and therefore you did put the bandage on. So, ripoi ditanabe kra mechayev, Shabbos the lo tanabe kra lo mechayev. So it makes a distinction. And says when it comes to the doctor bill, so you do have to pay. However, Shabbos not. So let's look at Rashi. So he says that lo nitna rishus le'eged mezel hanasai agad. The only reason why you wrapped it up is for your own physical pleasure or benefit. It felt better, but you really weren't supposed to do it. Hilchach smachim sha'olba, the various blisters that came on your body, ein al hamazik l'schayv lehen. So technically, you shouldn't have to pay for them. So, but he says, but because by Ripoy, the Tanu Beikra, that there's psukim connected to the chiv of Sheves, so therefore you talk, when it comes to Ripoy, the doctor bills, Rapi Rape, there is a pasik, so therefore you're chayiv. However, when it comes to sheves, where it's the lo tana beikra, so you're not chayiv. Yaminul hu ano. 1 second. If you're not supposed to put this bandage on, so ripui namil machayiv. Understand why would the fact that he did it and those blisters came only because he did something which he wasn't supposed to do? So then why should I be responsible? Okay, I hit him, but the reality is he shouldn't have put those bandages on. If he didn't, he would never have gotten these blisters. So why am I responsible for these blisters? Ella can't be that's the case, because in that situation, the kol yalma maka nitnal eged velo nitnal eged yatera. Actually, what happened is like this: you are allowed to put on a bandage. However, you're not supposed to put on what's called an eged yasera, namely an extra bandage, an extra layer. So you can put on one layer. That's makes sense. You have an injury, but to put on an extra layer outside of it, that you're not supposed to do. Since we're not supposed to put this extra layer on, so ripoy the tanabe kra machayev. Since the pasuk learns it. And Rashi says the tunnel bay means the shunel of a costume. It repeats it, so therefore it emphasizes that there's additional times you're going to be chayiv for ripoy. However, shavas the lo tanabei kra lo machayim, which it does not repeat it, therefore you're not chayiv. Rabbanan savi kivan the tanabei kra, since it's repeated, beripoy shavas nami machayiv. Since it's repeated by ripoy, you're also chayiv by shavas too. The iskish lo ripoy, because we make a connection to the two. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda savar shavas lo machayiv. He says no. When it comes to sheves, you're not going to be chayiv. When it comes to putting on this person who put on this extra band-aid, this extra layer, demati rachmana rak, because the pasuk says rak, so therefore that's a miyut to exclude. So Rabbanan rak l'shul machmas hamakud dasa. So according to the Rabbanan, the word rak is only shul machmas hamakid. In that situation, if the blister came not because of the initial makkah, so then that's when you're going to be palter. Rabbanan basroi, according to the later Rabbanan, who says that if you're not chayiv on the sheves, you're not going to be chayiv on the doctor bills either. So ripoy the tanabe kra lamuli. So why does it repeat it? Right? What's the purpose of it being repeated if you say that you don't have to pay in that situation even for the doctor bills? So min boyle katana de Shmuel, the tana de Shmuel, oimer Rabbi Rabbi mikanchen nitin rishul so reiful rafois. So this is great permission that a person is allowed to go to a doctor and he's allowed to heal. The person shouldn't say, well, maybe God gave this person an illness and therefore you're supposed to just take it. No, you're supposed to go to a doctor and be healed from it. The doctor is given permission to heal. So we actually learn out from here that a doctor doesn't have permission to say, oh, but you only have 6 months to live. The doctor doesn't have permission to say when you're going to die. The doctor has the ability to heal you. It's interesting. Ha'ara. Okay. Let's look at question 8. Rak shivdo yitain. Ezu oifen mematinan betashlumi sheves midechsiv rak. When the fact that it says rak, does it exclude? So one answer is just poshit. If there's smachim, which is shlomach masamaka, the over al divri harayfe. Let's say, for example, that he put these bandages on and he didn't listen to his doctor. He wasn't supposed to do it. And the blisters came not because of me, so I'm not going to be chayiv. Or he put smachim machmas hamake, the agda eged yateru, but he put on an extra bandage. So in that situation, Rak could be coming to tell you that you're going to be pater from the paying of sheves. Okay. Fine. Tanuban, manayin shim olu boit smachim machmas hamake. How do we know? If a person has a blister and it was connected to the original hit, Vinistera, and all of a sudden he got better, Vinistera Hamake, then let's say he came back, then Shechayev L'Rafuasai, you still have to pay for the doctor bills. The Chayev L'Yitin Lo Shifto, you have to pay for his time of rest. Someone Rak Shifto Yitin V'Rapi Yirape. Yachal Fil Shol Machos Hamake, you would think even Shol Machos Hamake you would also be Chayev. Someone Rak. No, the fact that it came back a second time, it doesn't matter, because if it's not connected to the original hit, so then you're not going to be Chayev. Rabbi Yosi Bar Yehuda says a novel concept. Oimer, he says, Av Machmas Hamake Potter. Even if the blisters came because of the original hit, you're also going to be potter. Shnemer rak. Actually, even if it's machmas hamaka, you're going to be completely potter. Kurabanan basroi. like the Rabbanan Basroi, who said that if you don't have to pay for the sheves, you don't have to pay for the ripoy either. That perhaps you can say that Achma Kasamake, you're pater only from sheves, but you still have to pay for the ripoy. And who is that? That is like his father. His father. This is Rav Yossi bar Yehuda. So who is Rav Yossi bar Yehuda's father? Rabbi Yehuda. So that's his father's shita. Omer Mar. You would think you would even have to pay for the blisters and for all these different things, even if it's not connected to the makkah. Tell me number rock. One second. Boykra. Why need a pasuk for that? Obviously, it has nothing to do with me. Obviously, I'm potter. It actually means the following: Harsha avar al divri roife. A person went against the words of the doctor. V'achol davash o kol mini matika mipnei hadavash. We know that honey and sweet things are actually bad for wounds. And he ended up developing, unfortunately, because he didn't do as the doctor told him to do. So he ended up developing these illnesses. So we would think that he'd be chayav no tamlo marak because he didn't listen to the doctor, and therefore he's not going to be chayav. So my gargusni, what does that mean? So Rabbi, it's referring to, of course, we all know, Na'asa Karichta. So, what is that? So, Rashi says, Basar mace, dead flesh. So, that's what can happen to a person if you do not allow things to heal better. It ends up turning into, like, dead skin. So, Maya Suse. So, what is the way to address this illness? So, Ahala, if you take owl, the kira, like wax, the kilba, and kilba, Rashi says, shibachavia shel yayin, it's in some type of like a wine barrel. The e oimrule asyach ana, and if the mazik says, I'll heal you, I'll take care of you, don't worry, armule damis alai ka'ari arva, you appear to me like an ambushing lion. In other words, I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't trust you. You're the one that caused these problems. I don't want, so, let me save a couple bucks and I'll heal you. No, thank you. All right? You caused enough problems. The Yermele, Maisin Asya, Demagun, Bimagun. So, let's say he says, I'll give you the medicine for Magun, which in this case means for free. Like, I'll pay all the I'll give you the medicine that you need. Or Malay Asya the Magan b'Magan Magan Shava. Free medicine is like worthless, right? So you're trying to give me something which has no value, it's probably is worthless. If the Mazik says, my sinalach asirachika, he says, I'm going to give you this masirachika. It says, Umoizel Gabi, and it should come to me, or Malay, asirachika ein avira. Medicine which is far away will blind the eyes. Says Rashi, she'asid leilech l'darko ve'in chayshish im iver einu shelzeh. The oimrule, if the mazik if the nizik says, hey chavli l'didi, how do you give to me? V'ana masina nafshi. Just give me the money and I'll heal myself. Right? I'll take care of it myself. Or malay pasht b'nafshach. You've like been negligent to your soul. V'shaklas minoy tfei. And you'll end up taking more. So in other words, he said he can't say, just give me the money, I'll take care of it. No, because he may end up not taking care of himself. Then all of a sudden, if he ends up not being healed because he just took the money and he didn't get the medicine as he needed right away, and all of a sudden gets sicker, so then all of a sudden you're gonna come back to me again and ask for more money. No, thank you. The Armali Kaitzli Makats, give me a set amount. Armali Koshikain, all the more so. The Peshat Benafshach, the Karuli Shor Hamazik. If you say, no, just give me a certain amount of money and I'm not going to ask you for any more, so it's going to be even worse because people are going to say that I'm like an ox that damages, that basically I'm someone that causes damages and I don't live up to my requirements of paying you back because look at this poor guy. But little do they know that this was the arrangement. People are not going to know that. They're just going to think that they're going to see you and they're going to think that I was not someone who took care of the problems. So Tana B'Kulan Mishtalim and B'Makam Nezek. In all these situations, you pay b'makom nezek. Even though you paid for the damages, you still have to pay for these other things. So min hanamilis. How do we know? So Rav Zvid Mishmei the Rabbi. The pasuk says patza tachas patza litin tsar b'makom nezek, which we said before that you still have to pay tsar even though you already paid for the damages. So 1 second, is that what petza tachas patza means? Don't we need that already as we continue to pay him and bays for the following? As we saw in the second parak, that when it comes to Adam, you're chayiv in all circumstances. So we see from here two things. First of all, that you're chayiv shag kamezid, and second of all, you're going to be chayiv to pay sar b'makom nezek. Rav Papa mishmei the Rabba Imer. Rav Papa said in the name of Rava that Omer Kra, the pasuk says Rapi litin refuah b'makom nezek. So he actually learns out from a different part of the pasuk to tell us that you have to pay refuah. Also, even though you paid for damage, you also have to pay for the refuah. So, I thought we used that part of the pasuk to say that doctors are given permission to heal. So, so therefore, it comes to tell us this extra drasha. Maybe it's just coming to tell us only that. So lemisti bekra baripo imkin lemekra o rapo o yirape my rapo shmamid elitin rapo b'makom nezek. So the fact that it has this lashon comes to tell you both things, that you have to pay you still have to pay b'makom nezek, the refuah b'makom nezek. Even though we paid for damage, you still have to pay for the healing, for the doctor bills and the like. And the second thing is to tell us that doctors are given permission to heal. Fine. So, michlal, we can deduce from all of this that there's actually a situation where a person can develop a blemish or this blister, even though it's not somehow connected to the damage. Now, how do we find that situation? So, tsar, how do we find, in other words, that if you have to pay tsar b'makom nezek, it must be there's a possibility of you having tsar without nezek. So tsar kedetani, our Mishnah said this already. Tsar kavul b'shvudo b'masmer v'ivul al tziproinoi makom sheno. Fine. So what happened? You put a spit or something hot onto a nail, a fingernail. So that does not cause nezek, but it still causes pain. So it's possible that you could have caused tsar without nezek. Makom sheno oisa chabura, which is a makom sheno oisa chabura. Period. Repoi, how is there a possibility you have to pay for a doctor bill, but there's no damage? The person was hurting and he was healed. The isolate samacharifa, and he brought him a strong medication. The achvere lebisre, and it whitened his skin. The sarch sama, they now have to give another medicine, l'ankute gavna, to bring healing to the coloring, to bisra of his skin. So therefore, there's no nezek over here, but you need another medication to be able to address this issue. Sheves, how is there sheves without damages? Very simple situation. Dehadke be'in dora, be'in dorona. If you basically lock this guy up in a jail cell, so there's no nezek, but of course sheves because he can't go to work. And ubatli, so he's mavatal from work. Baishes derakle ba'apeh. You didn't do damage, but if you spit in front of someone, that's embarrassing, and therefore you're chayiv in that situation only for baishes. Okay, all right. Let's maybe see a question over here before we get too far ahead. Question TA13 asks, Heich shamin sar l'maskana. How do we assess and evaluate sar l'maskana? So this brings us to the case of Oimdin. We evaluate kamat adam roitze litain l'katol yado hamuchtav l'malchus bein saif litzam. That's TA 13. Pretty straightforward question, and that's just exactly how they write it. Okay, there's no other questions there for that. Let's see, maybe TB 14. Boy Rabba Sheves Hapoich. Okay, we didn't do that yet. All right, and we'll hold off on our Mikibris questions, and let's continue by the two dots. Sheves Roinoi Sakilu Hu Shamer Kishuan. So we say, how much do you have to pay for the doctor bills? You have to figure out as though he guards cucumbers. So Tanabanan, Sheves Roinos Kihu Shemer Kishuin. The im timer, you can say 1 second. Loksa Midas Hadin. How is that fair? You're lacking Midas Hadin. Why do you only have to pay for that? The guy makes a lot more money. Dechi mitpach hai gavra. When this person's healed, lav agro de shemer kishuin hu shakel. He's not taking for being a cucumber sale guard. El doli davla v'shakel. He's going to draw water v'shakel agra and get reward. Inami ozol b'shliach v'kabel agra. So why is he paid such a low wage? He could do a higher level job, like the examples that are given. We could any other example that was a high paying job. So how is it fair that we're going to pay this guy such a lowly salary of what he could have done, which is the lowest job, the easiest job in the world, is watching a bunch of cucumbers? So Midas Hadin lo laksa. You're wrong. Midas Hadin is not lacking. It makes sense. Why? Because we already paid the value of the hand and the foot, so we've already calculated, he's already received money for nezek. All we have to do now is sheves. So therefore, it's not going to, you can't look at it like independently. They're all connected. And since we already paid for nezek, so therefore the amount that he has to pay for sheves is less. Amarava. Katas yadai, if you cut off the hand, noisel deme yadai, you pay for the value of the hand. The sheves, which is what we said, because a shemer kishuin, you can watch cucumbers without hands. Shiris ragloi, let's say you broke the foot, so noisel deme raglo, could you pay the value of the foot for nezek? The sheves or noisel ki'uhu shemer esa pesach. You can't really watch a large field of gourds or cucumbers because you don't have access to be able to use your legs properly. But you could at least be a guard of a door if you're just standing like right by the door or sitting right next to a door. What happens if sinos eno, you blinded his eyes? No sildeme eno, you pay for his eyes. The sheves or an oisakihu matchinoi berichayim. You pay him like he's someone who grinds up wheat in a millstone. So therefore, that place, even if you're blind, you can do this task. Obviously, you can't watch anything because you don't have eyes to watch, but you can at least do something else. Chershoi, let's say you deafened a person. You have to pay for his entire value. So, in Rashi says, Chersho ein royal klum. Someone who does not have the ability to hear is not able to really do anything. Boy Rabba, katas yadai, let's say you cut the hand, v'lo amduhu, but you didn't evaluate it yet. So therefore you haven't paid the nezek. Shibris raglo v'lo amduhu, or for that matter, the foot, but you haven't finished the process of doing this, the assessment. Beis Din hasn't figured out exactly this is how much you have to give. Simis einoi, for that matter, the eye, v'lo amduhu. U'b'soif chershu. And then at the end, he becomes deaf. Now by deaf, you have to pay everything. But the truth is, initially, it was something else. So mahu mi amrin and kivandu amduhu b'chad umdana sayule v'yoyvle demekule b'hadi adadi. Since we didn't actually figure it all out yet, so then all of a sudden he became deaf. So therefore, you just pay the whole thing. It's only one evaluation is necessary. We have to do each one separately. And yet then you have to pay. What's the difference? You have to pay for everything anyway. So nafkamina de boilu mesively tsar boishus de chol chad v'chada. Of course, for the nezek is everything. However, the tsar and boishus, you have to pay the tsar and boishus separately or together. So nihi granted the nezek for ripoy v'sheves. When it comes to nezek and ripoy and sheves, the chol chad v'chada lo yavinon. We don't give him separately. The kivan de kol yoyvle de mekule, because he's being paid everything anyway. Commanded katli dam. It's like he was killed. And he gave his entire value. Now the whole question is sar ubaishas mias. Kol chad v'chad yoyev. Do you give each one separately? The havilate sar ubaishas. Yimtim so mekivandaloi amdu. Maybe since he wasn't evaluated, yoyev le demekule b'hadi adadi. So therefore it's all like together as one. So amduhu mahu. What actually if he was evaluated? Mi amrina. Do we say kivan diamdu since it was evaluated chad boilu mesivle? So therefore you have to do each one separately. Dilma kivan deloy shlim. Since he didn't actually pay yoivle demekule, you should just do the whole thing and that's all. Teku. So we're actually going to stop there. It's a good stopping point. Now let's see one last time if there's another question. Nothing here. No, not TA. Not TB. Now let's look at Rabbi Gibber's test, then we're going to stop. So, let's see if I can find this. Toward the bottom. Yeah. Lamaskanus Hagamara Heich Shaminan Kishikata Yadai. If he'd be given to Malchus to have his hand chopped off by the sword, which is more painful, how much would he be willing to pay for an easier removal with acid? Pay him the difference. Okay. Mahu atam demandi omer ba'eged yisera. When it comes to he put on this extra bandage, being l'shalom ripoy, you still have to pay for the doctor bills. Kish'olabot smachim. Since it says rapi, a double lashon, it includes this case and sheves if you make a hekesh to that. Okay. Ma chidish deba'olu tzmachim shalom achas amaka the potter. Of course you're potter. It means you don't listen to your doctor and you eat honey or sweet things, which of course, which can cause the smachim. Okay. Katas yadai v'lam duhu. V'yachach shivers raglav. V'yachach hirshu him boy l'mesiv Sarah Baishas Gomor L'chol Chad V'chad Iboyedol Ivshata. So that's a question which was not answered. Adkan.